for inviting me here. I also want to thank you for inviting me here to share my story. It allows me to thank the people that have supported and encouraged me in my life. I also want to thank the University of Texas Health. Well, I got to be honest with you. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to say University of Texas, but but I really do want to thank the university and their support for the deaf education and hearing science program that helps so many children and families. I'd like to introduce my family. My mom, she's always been super supportive. You'll see throughout the stories I've told that, she has a huge key to my success and how well she was prepared and how well she planned things out. My dad, he was Mark Adams. He's one of my best friends. He's one of the guys that got me involved in basketball, and that's one of my biggest passions. He's taught me to be a godly man, to make the right decisions, and most importantly, he has taught me how to deal with adversity when things don't go the way you want. And my sister, well, there's my sister. What can I say? No, I'm just kidding. She's been great. She's one of my biggest cheerleaders. She's always been very supportive of me, and she'll send me those encouraging text messages, speak out to me, but when I'm down or when I'm having a bad day, she always lifts me right back up. My story begins when I was 2 years old. My parents could see I wasn't responding normally, so they sent me to an audiologist. The audiologist conducted an ABR, an auditory brain response hearing test. After the hearing test was completed, the audiologist told my parents I would not read or write above a second grade level. He would never read or write above a second grade level, and 300 miles up the road, Austin, Texas, has a very good deaf school, and I strongly recommend you sending him there. They have the resources to take care of him. I later realized, don't let other people tell you what you can and cannot do, even if they claim to be experts or professionals. Looking back, it's hard to even imagine what would have happened if my parents would have taken his advice. I was diagnosed with profound hearing loss. My family's world had been turned upside down. I was faced with huge obstacles. I was faced with 2 days a week speech therapy, 3 days a week language therapy, learning how to hear with hearing devices, monthly hearing tests, and doctor's appointments. Regardless, my parents instilled in me that I was just the same as everyone else. I never felt different. They just told me if I just believed in myself, I could do anything I wanted to do. Before they knew I was deaf, my mom used to think it was so cute when I was little that I would take my little hand and place it on her chin and pull it towards me. They later realized that I was reading their lips. In fact, when I was a few years older, a specialist from St. Louis tested me on lip reading. He told my dad that I was 1 in a million. My dad humbly said, "Oh, that's nice of you to say." And he continued to say, "No, really, he's 1 in a million. Instinctively, he has learned to read lips with his eyes, and he can hear with his eyes." At 2.5 years old, I was fitted with my first pair of hearing aids. The doctor said I would hate them. He was so wrong. My mom even said I wanted to sleep in them. But my next challenge was communication. Deaf children with deaf parents have a much higher success rate in the classroom than a deaf parent with a hearing parent, a deaf child with a hearing parent. My mom and dad were committed to making sure I had whatever was necessary. Initially, we were going to learn sign language as a family. They even had a sign language instructor visit our house. My mom, my sister were with the sign language instructor, and I was over there playing with my toys. The sign language instructor goes, "Luke, don't you want to learn how to sign?" I said, "No, I just want to talk." After that, my speech and hearing took a different turn. I believe God places individuals in our path to help shape our lives. In addition to my parents, I had many other people that were a huge key to my success. One of those people, God sent us an angel from heaven, an auditory verbal therapist named Nani. She was determined that I would use an auditory verbal approach, which means using what hearing you have left without the use of lip reading. Nani would cover her lips during therapy. I believe it was her vision and her determination is the reason I don't have deaf speech. Another positive influence was my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Freeman. One day, she made a big impression on me. When some of my classmates were making fun of my hearing aids, she pulled me aside throughout the classroom and said, my eyes began to swell up, I had a tear coming down my cheeks, and she said, Luke, try not to ever cry for yourself. If you do cry, cry for others. My mom always dreaded the sound booth and the constant hearing testing. But I knew if I did my very best, I would get rewarded. No matter how bad I did or how poorly I done. Every time I come out of the booth, she said, you did great. And then she would take me to Toys R Us. I really thought I was good at this hearing stuff. My mom recently shared another story with me about one of those trips to the audiologist. I was listening to the beep beeps, as I called them. And my mom overheard two student observers. The sounds were so loud from the booth that you could actually hear them. And the two students said, can you believe you can't hear that? And my mom, after wiping the tears from her face, she kindly asked them to remember that they were talking about someone's son. After I made my way through grade school, there were some good times and there were some tough times. I remember going into the first grade. It was an elementary school, just a few blocks from my house. The school district told us they were not equipped to handle deaf students. This meant I had to take a bus all the way across town to a classroom to be with multi-handicapped students. My parents felt strongly that I'd be just fine in a classroom setting. So they decided to enroll me in a private school. Reflecting back, I know now that God wanted me to attend Trinity Christian School. I wasn't a straight A student, but I did make good grades. My parents get a lot of credit for my success. My parents would make me sit on the front row of classes. Some of my teachers had a microphone that would help me hear. But my biggest help was my mom would ask for the lesson plans a week in advance, so she would tutor me on the upcoming assignments and vocabulary. God's next plan in my life took a different course my 5th grade year. I received a cochlear implant, modern technology. Instead of sound waves, I use electronic impulse from a battery that now stimulates my brain and turns them into sound. I was able to hear all sorts of new sounds. I was able to hear the Coke fizz. I was able to hear the annoying blinker when my mom would forget to turn off the turn signal. And now I couldn't use the excuse, clean up your room, or I didn't hear you. Or stop picking on your sister, Luke. Around this time is when my journey started. I wanted to become a college basketball player. It started with dreams. I began to dream about becoming a college basketball player around the 6th grade. Not just a college basketball player, but a Texas Tech basketball player, right in my hometown of Lubbock, Texas. When I was in the 7th grade, I remember walking down the hallway during one of my classroom passing periods. Then I saw something on the wall that I'll never forget. It was a motivational poster. It said, I felt like God was trying to tell me something. It said, dreams without action stay dreams. So I began writing down my plan of action to help become the best player I could be. My mom was a school teacher and she got up really early every morning. So I got her to drop me off at the gym at 5:30 a.m. A few months later, the coach was so tired of coming up there every single morning that he just gave me my very own personal gym. I set a goal to make 700 baskets a day, 2 to 3 workouts daily. I realized I had to be consistent with my commitment. I also knew if it was easy, everyone would be able to do it. It's the hard that makes it great. At a young age, my dad instilled in me that I was constantly fighting against time. I felt like time was my worst enemy. Don't just count the days. Make the days count. You have to take advantage of your free time and work. Work towards your goals. Goals are important. I learned this at a young age. There are still some friends of mine that still haven't learned this concept. Lofty goals and dreams are that way because they are hard to achieve, so get ready. There will be setbacks. You will feel discouraged. This is where your desire and your belief in yourself will be tested. Friends would tell me that I was not athletic enough, I wasn't tall enough, or I was obsessed, or I was too short. But sometimes you just have bad luck. I broke my foot early in my junior season. I knew I couldn't reach my goal of being a college basketball player unless I had a good junior and senior season. So I managed to talk the coach into letting me play with a broken foot. So I wore a support boot all day, except for practicing games. I'd take it off, it'd wrap my ankle, and then I had a carbon fiber insole in my shoe to help lessen the stability. So then, our team ended up winning the first district championship that year in 30 years. I was also selected District Offensive Player of the Year. Immediately after our last playoff game, I had surgery, but surgery only fueled my fire and helped me be the best player I could be. I was able to turn a setback into a comeback. Another thing I learned, not to take myself too seriously. Have fun. Embrace it. God made me this way. I accept it. In high school, we played Clovis, New Mexico. They had a great basketball tradition. One of my roommates and teammates was on the Clovis team, Jay Crockett. It was at the end of the game, one of those moments, you growing up, you count down the last second shot, like 3, 2, 1, and you shoot it. But sometimes that imaginary game doesn't go as planned. You miss the shot. Or you get fouled. That's exactly what happened to me. I got fouled. And then you go to the free throw line. There I was at the line, the student body's yelling at me on their feet. The rim is shaking. Even a deaf guy like me, I can barely hear myself think. And there was Jay staring at me on the lane line. So I had an idea. I reached back, took a deep breath, turned off my processor and my implant. Silence. Just me, the ball, and the basket. Now, being resourceful and having fun is important to reaching your goals. And by the way, I made both free throws and we won the game. Remember, as I said earlier, my dream was to play for Texas Tech. I surely thought that would come calling. I made first team All-State. I led the state in Texas in scoring. Yes, I had some scholarship offers, but not from the Red Raiders. I did not get discouraged. The head coach at the time, Billy Gillespie, offered me a preferred walk-on spot for the team. I took it. Later that summer, an assistant coach told me, "Listen, Luke, I care about you. I want to tell you the truth. You know you're not going to play here, right? Or ever be a scholarship player. You will just be a practice player." He seemed to be right. The first 7 games, I did not play a minute. But I continued to believe in myself. Next on the schedule, we're going to TCU. That was our first big road game. To experience a loud and crazy crowd. I wasn't even playing, and they were taunting at me on the bench, saying, "Put the short white kid in with the headband." Well, I wore a headband to keep my implant from falling off. I had longer hair back then, and for some reason they thought I resembled a famous pop singer. So the student body started chanting, "Justin Bieber." Coach decided to put me in the game. We were down 14 points with 7 minutes to play. You never know when your opportunity will come, so be prepared. I was ready. I had a couple steals, 3 points, and 3 assists. We got within 2 points of tying the game. The next game, Coach put me in the starting lineup. I had the first 12 points of the game. I even had a career high of 15 points against Kansas State that year. More obstacles. I had a new head coach my sophomore year that told me before the season he wasn't going to play me. Last year, I had a third head coach in 3 years, Coach Tubby Smith. By the way, Coach Smith believed in me enough to put me on scholarship. Dreams really do come true. It might not have happened the way I wanted it to, but if you keep on holding on to your dreams, you also never know how close you are to accomplishing those dreams. I also graduated from Texas Tech with a 3.4 GPA, and I'm currently in grad school. In closing, I'm so anxious to see what God has in store for me. Athletics has given me the opportunity to see people meet their maximum potential. For example, Coach Smith, he grew up in a household with 16 brothers and sisters. Because of his work habits and his character, he has been able to accomplish things that's unbelievable. He's a great role model for me because I want to be a coach too and want to follow in his footsteps. He's been National Coach of the Year. He's won a national championship. He's been to the White House twice. Coach Smith says, if you're going to dream big dreams. With this being said, I want this story to hopefully motivate this group to help others like me to achieve big dreams. There's no doubt without the support from my family, teachers, friends, coaches, I would not have the opportunity to stand here next to y'all. So many deaf children think they are disabled. It is our challenge to make them feel like they are enabled to dream big dreams, and most importantly, to achieve those dreams. Your support today makes those children's dreams a reality tomorrow. On behalf of thousands of children and myself that will be touched by this program, thank you for the work that you do. God bless you, and thank you for having me.